For 6 long years, I have looked into the eyes of my wife's cat and kept a secret that would completely destroy my marriage if it ever came to light. Every single time my wife Clara cradles that jet black animal against her chest, whispering how much she loves him, my heart stops. She thinks she is holding Midnight, the fierce, feral stray she rescued from an alleyway, bottle-fed for weeks, and defended against every single person who told her he was a monster. But she isn't. The real Midnight was a bloodthirsty, unpredictable beast that nearly cost me my sanity and left permanent scars buried deep in my forearm. The creature currently sleeping soundly on our velvet sofa is an imposter, a calm, perfectly trained lookalike I bought from a shelter 2 towns over while she was away. It was supposed to be the perfect victimless crime to save our relationship. I thought I had gotten away with it. But yesterday morning, I noticed something that made my blood run cold. The imposter cat was staring fixatedly at a hollow space beneath our floorboards. And a blackmail letter had just slipped through our front mail slot, containing only 4 words. I know what you swapped. Before we dive into the terrifying web of lies that followed this discovery, make sure to hit that subscribe button right now and turn on all notifications. On this channel, we uncover the darkest betrayals, the most calculated acts of revenge, and the shocking secrets people keep behind closed doors. You won't want to miss how this psychological nightmare unfolds. Subscribe now, and let's get back to the story. To understand why I did something so radical, you have to understand what my life was like 6 years ago. Clara and I were just dating back then, deeply in love and planning a future together. There was only one massive, unavoidable obstacle in our relationship: her cat, Midnight. Midnight was not a normal pet. He was a magnificent, completely all-black cat with piercing yellow eyes, and he was entirely feral. He treated our apartment like a war zone, and anyone who stepped inside as an enemy combatant. If you tried to pet him, he would open up holes in your hands. Every Thanksgiving, Clara's mother would refuse to come over because Midnight would relentlessly hunt her ankles under the dining table. The apartment smelled constantly of ammonia because Midnight treated his litter box as a mere suggestion, choosing instead to target Clara's laundry baskets, my shoes, and the corners of our rugs. Our friends completely stopped visiting. Whenever we had to take him to the vet, the staff had a bright red warning sticker plastered across his medical file. He once cornered an innocent maintenance worker in our small bathroom, hissing and lunging so violently that the poor guy was trapped inside for 20 minutes. Clara apologized by baking the man cookies, but she absolutely refused to see the truth. To Clara, Midnight wasn't malicious, he was just misunderstood. She would look at him with tears in her eyes and recount how she found him shivering behind a dumpster, bottle-feeding him back to health. She swore up and down that all he needed was time, patience, and love. But after 3 years of patience, I was at my absolute breaking point. I felt like a hostage in my own home. The turning point came when Clara's sister got married out of state. Clara had to leave for an entire week, leaving me on solo feeding duty. On the very first night, I walked into the kitchen, bent down to place his food bowl on the floor, and made the mistake of looking away for a split second. In a flash of black fur and claws, Midnight lunged. He tore into my forearm with such calculated ferocity that the wounds required layers of heavy gauze to stop the bleeding. I stood over the kitchen sink, washing my own blood down the drain, looking at the cat who was licking my blood off his paws with an icy stare. Out loud, trembling with rage, I told him, "You can be replaced." It started as a dark, frustrated joke in my head. But as I lay awake that night, my arm throbbing in pain, the joke morphed into an obsession. By morning, it wasn't a joke anymore. It was a plan. I spent the next 2 days driving to animal shelters far outside our city limits, looking for a miracle. At a small shelter 2 towns over, I found him. He was an all-black cat, identical in size, with the exact same piercing yellow eyes. The shelter staff explained that his previous elderly owner had passed away, and the poor cat had been deeply depressed and quiet ever since. They warned me that he was incredibly skittish and had been returned once before for hiding under a bed for days at a time. To the shelter workers, this was a flaw. To me, it was perfection. A skittish cat that hides under the bed would perfectly explain any sudden shift in Midnight's behavior to Clara. I paid the adoption fee, took the new cat home in a cardboard carrier, and faced the darkest part of my plan, disposing of the real Midnight. I couldn't bear to harm him, despite what he did to me. Instead, I drove 3 hours away to a no-kill farm sanctuary specializing in feral, unadoptable animals, dropped him off under an assumed name, paid a massive donation to ensure his lifelong care, and drove away. When I introduced the new cat to the apartment, it felt surreal. For the remaining days of Clara's trip, I worked tirelessly to make the apartment smell like him. When Clara finally returned, she rushed into the bedroom, calling out for her baby. Predictably, the new cat was terrified and bolted straight under the bed. Clara slipped onto her stomach, looking at those yellow eyes in the shadows. She cried, saying he missed her so much he was traumatized. I stood in the doorway, my heart hammering against my ribs, realizing she had completely swallowed the lie. As the weeks turned into months, the transformation was spectacular. The new cat eventually crept out from under the bed. He stopped attacking people. He successfully used his litter box every single time. When Clara's mother came over for the next holiday, the cat gently walked up to her and purred, rubbing his head against her ankles. Clara wept with joy. She hugged me and said her hard work finally paid off, proving that all the animal needed was patience and love. I smiled, kissed her forehead, and swallowed the bitter truth. Her happiness was built on a lie, but our home was finally peaceful. We got married a year later. The imposter cat became a cherished part of our family. I thought the secret was buried forever. I was dead wrong. 6 years passed smoothly. Then came the blackmail letter. I know what you swapped. The printed text was completely anonymous. No return address, no signature. My mind began to race frantically through every possibility. Who could have known? The shelter staff 2 towns over didn't know what my original cat looked like. The farm sanctuary didn't know who I really was. Did someone see me carrying the crates? I became consumed by paranoia. I began checking our home security cameras, looking over my shoulder on my walk to work, and scrutinizing every text message Clara received. But the horror truly deepened inside our own living room. The fake Midnight, who had been completely docile for 6 years, began acting incredibly strange. He refused to sleep on our bed anymore. Instead, he would sit in the center of the living room at 3 a.m, staring intensely at a specific corner of the hardwood floorboards, letting out a low, guttural growl that I had never heard him make before. One evening, while Clara was out at a dinner with her coworkers, I decided I couldn't handle the suspense any longer. I dragged a crowbar from the closet, moved the heavy living room rug, and began prying up the specific floorboards the cat had been staring at. The wood groaned and splintered. I shone a flashlight into the dark, dusty crawl space beneath the floor. My breath caught in my throat. Tucked neatly between the wooden beams was an old, dusty leather duffel bag. I pulled it out, my hands trembling violently. I unzipped it, expecting to find old insulation or mice. Instead, I found neat stacks of $100 bills, bound in heavy rubber bands, totaling what looked like hundreds of thousands of dollars. And resting right on top of the money was a small silver collar with a faded tag that read, "Property of Midnight." My mind shattered. The shelter lady's words from 6 years ago echoed in my head. His old owner passed away. He was returned once before, for hiding under a bed for days. The imposter cat hadn't been hiding under the bed out of fear when his previous adopters took him home. His previous owner hadn't just passed away. They were involved in something highly illegal. The cat had been used to locate or guard hidden stashes of dirty money. And the person who had hidden this money in our building 6 years ago was finally back to claim it. Before I could even process the money, the front door unlocked. Clara walked in. I scrambled to shove the duffel bag back into the floorboards, but I was too late. She stepped into the living room, her eyes darting from the crowbar in my hand to the exposed, broken floorboards, and finally to the stacks of cash sitting on the rug. I expected her to scream. I expected panic. Instead, Clara's face went completely cold. The warm, loving, gentle wife I thought I knew completely vanished. She calmly closed the front door behind her, locked it, and leaned against it. She looked at me and asked if I honestly thought I was the smartest person in the room. I froze, asking her what this was and where the money came from. She let out a short, mocking laugh, telling me the money didn't matter. What mattered was that she had known about the cat swap since the exact night she came home from her sister's wedding 6 years ago. My jaw dropped. She knew. She looked at me coldly and asked if I honestly believed a woman wouldn't recognize the animal she bottle-fed from a kitten. Midnight had a tiny, jagged notch in his left ear from an old alley fight. My replacement didn't, but she didn't care. She admitted she hated the real Midnight, calling him a nightmare. But she needed a reason to keep me compliant. And more importantly, she needed an animal that wouldn't attack her while she searched this apartment building for what her ex-partner hid there before he went to prison. The pieces fell into place with agonizing clarity. Clara hadn't rescued Midnight out of pure charity. She had been searching for this hidden cartel money for nearly a decade. She had stayed with me because my apartment was the central location where her late ex-partner had lived years prior. She had used my guilt over the secret cat swap to keep me subservient, playing the role of the blissful, naive wife while she meticulously figured out exactly which floorboard held the fortune. I whispered, realizing she sent the anonymous blackmail letter. Clara smiled wickedly, pulling a small, sleek flash drive from her pocket. She admitted she needed to trigger my paranoia, so I would finally do the heavy lifting and rip up the floors for her. She told me she was leaving with the bag, and that I was going to stay here and take the fall for the missing funds, revealing she had already transferred all our joint accounts into an offshore wallet under my digital signature. She picked up the heavy duffel bag, looked down at the imposter cat, and remarked that it was a shame, because he really was a much better cat. She turned to leave, but as she reached for the doorknob, a sudden heavy pounding echoed from the other side of the door. The cartel handlers outside weren't waiting for her to walk out. They were coming in. Clara whirled around to face me, panic finally fracturing her icy facade. She screamed at me to hide the bag immediately. I looked at the crowbar in my hand, then at the wife who had systematically deceived me for 6 straight years, and finally at the door as the wood began to splinter under the heavy blows from outside. I had a split second to make a choice: save the woman I loved who had utterly betrayed me, or open the door and let the monsters handle each other. This brings us to the ultimate question that has sparked fierce debates across the internet. In a situation like this, who is the true villain? Some people argue that David got exactly what he deserved. He started the entire cycle of deception by gaslighting his wife, breaking her trust, and secretly replacing a living, breathing pet that she claimed to love just to make his own life easier. By acting out of selfishness, he completely opened the door for his own life to be destroyed. On the other hand, Clara's level of cold, calculated manipulation is entirely sociopathic. She weaponized David's guilt for over half a decade, faked an entire marriage based on financial greed, and was fully prepared to throw the man she swore to protect straight to a criminal cartel to save her own skin. Now, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment down below right now. If you were in David's shoes at that exact moment with the door breaking down, would you hide the bag and save Clara despite her massive betrayal? Or would you throw the door wide open and let her face the consequences of her own twisted game? Don't forget to share this video with your friends, family, or anyone who thinks they truly know the person sleeping next to them. Let's see who takes David's side and who takes Clara's.